Hey everybody, welcome to another video. If you've been watching before, thanks for coming back for another one. If this is your first time here, hope you enjoy what you're about to see. The plan for today is that we're going to paint a skull in oils, and I'm just going to talk through it a little bit and hopefully give you guys some insight on where my head's at and the decisions that I'm making, and just kind of discuss process and maybe just ramble on about other things along the way. Alright, so we're laying down the palette, titanium white, ivory black, and Van Dyke brown, and just trying to get a foundation started, not really trying to get any specific details or anything like that, really going for big broad strokes, shapes, laying down the basics. So the first thing I realize is that I should have primed this MDF panel. It is really just eating every bit of paint that I'm putting on there. I haven't really been able to get a good opaque foundation whatsoever, and yeah, that was really dumb. I should not have done that. So lesson learned, next time using MDF, definitely gonna prime it first. Gotta get some gesso, add that to the list. Yeah, so doing my best, trying to get over it. I keep going. The first hour of this painting was truly frustrating because it just felt like no matter what I was doing, it just came out to look very sketchy, and I really felt like I was putting down some pretty heavy paint. Alright, so I'm going to pause for just a minute here and call out the fact that upon re-listening to the audio, you can definitely hear my cat whining in the background. She was outside the room while I was recording, so that was pretty cool. If you've watched this channel before, you know that this is the first video that I've done any audio recording on whatsoever, so this is a very new process for me. Yeah, still learning, so this is going to be fun for no one, and really just awkward and kind of cringy, I imagine, for just about everybody, including myself. I certainly know I'm not the first artist to complain on social media about social media and about how it's no longer good enough to just be an artist. You have to be a content creator, and you have to learn new skills, and you have to learn how to promote yourself. Marketing yourself is probably your primary job as an artist, which is not the way it used to be, but it is how it is now. So it's up to us to figure it out, and it's up to us to adapt. So that's what I think we all have to do. And that's true of being an artist on social media as much as it is being a person in life. Now I realize that no one is here for life lessons, so we're not going to go into detail with any of that shit. But yeah, I mean, art imitates life, life imitates art. I'm not really sure which one of those is the actual saying, but I think both are true. So, yeah. Yeah, this is a cool camera 2 shot here we got going on. I'm trying new things, trying to figure it out, trying to add in some exciting angles. Oh, back to the original. Alright, gotta go with the trusty overhead shot here when we're getting back into things. So I'm going to give you guys some much needed reprieve from my voiceover for a few minutes, and we're just going to watch the progress of this video. I'm going to come up with some more witty things to talk about and insightful anecdotes that relate to both art and life. Maybe you noticed, maybe you were paying attention, I switched over to a pretty broad flat brush for this part of the painting. I got kind of frustrated with over stressing and getting too deep into trying to get really accurate shapes and details in already, and we are a long way from that point. I feel like I have to constantly remind myself that I have never been the type of painter to be able to work on one section of things and finish it before moving on to another part. I'm always working on the entire thing, if not maybe just the main focal point, but certainly not like one eyeball and working it to completion, or the mouth or the nose or the ear and working it to completion. I can't paint like that. I never have been able to paint with such intention to be able to work in sections like that. I see painters and illustrators and, all kinds of people doing that all the time, and man, it is cool. It is fun to watch, but that is not me. So what you may notice is that I'm working all over the central image all the time. And that's a lot of because I don't pre-mix colors, I think. So when I get a tone where I want it to be, I use it as often and in as many places as I possibly can. The truth is, though, at this point, I'm still pretty frustrated with this painting. It's not where I want it to be. Yeah, colors are really still very transparent, really drab, not a lot of good contrast, not a lot of good texture building, still very blocky, but I mean, that's part of the process. I definitely struggle with that along the way. It's one thing that drove me to kind of stepping away from oils for a while, because the process of oils can take so long, and you get to a point where you can only do so much with a painting, or at least I found that was true of me. So in an attempt to distract myself from how unhappy I am with where the painting is right now, decided to throw down a big heavy coat on the background. I put some ultra matte black, I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but it's from a brand called Culture Hustle, and it's an acrylic paint. It's supposed to be like the blackest black paint you can possibly get. It is amazing. Super black, so dark. It looks like you were just peering into absolute nothingness. Yeah, so that was really helpful, actually. I did this right before kind of finishing up for like the first session. I was really frustrated. I really wanted to stop, but I didn't want to stop at a point where I didn't want to pick it up again. So putting down this base coat for the background really allowed me to start to see the shape of the skull come out. And that's, I think, one of the things that I really needed along the way, was to just kind of have some break from the beige brown tone of the panel and the really flat white of the skull. And for what it's worth, I think that decision really served its purpose. I was able to come back to it on day 2, which is where we are right now, getting set up. But I was really excited to sit down and finish this painting up. Altogether, I think on day 2, I spent another hour or so, probably all said and done, I think a total of maybe 3 hours in this painting. You may notice that I added in a little bit of yellow ochre to the palette, and I'm no longer using ivory black, just straight Van Dyke brown. So titanium white, obviously still a big part of things. Got the Gal kit on the palette as well. And things are starting to come together for me. Right away, adding in that yellow ochre gave me some additional tones to work with, and additional like textures, and really just more depth, more layers, more, I don't know, more something. Sometimes it's really hard to put a finger on what that something is, but I think if you are here 9 minutes into this video, you probably understand what I'm talking about. And look, I'm not trying to be too deep or overly philosophical here, because sometimes you're just painting a skull. And to be honest, that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to paint this skull because it's cool looking. I have no plans to hang it on a gallery wall, or even my wall. Actually, it's probably, once it's dry, it's probably just going to go in my portfolio and stay there. Maybe I'll put it on Etsy, which I will link to in the description below. And maybe someone will buy it and put it on their wall. And that's really cool when that happens. It doesn't happen all the time. All right, and so like right here, right about there, you might have missed it. You probably missed it. I add that little crack in the bridge of the nose, and all of a sudden, for me, the whole thing started to come together. The rest of the details are all falling into place right now. The pits in the bone, the cracks, the creases, the shadows are all working together now finally. And it was really set off by that one little line for me. I don't know why, but once I did that, it just fell into place. And it's a thing as simple as that little line that always reminds me that I don't always have control, or I feel like I don't always have control over how a painting is going to turn out. Like, I know I'm an okay painter. I'm in charge of my hands using the brushes. I'm mixing the colors. I'm making the decisions. But at the end of the day, like, sometimes it feels like it's all accidental. Like, I'm still learning from the very beginning until the very ending. And, you know, that's a good thing. You don't want to be too content or too passive in your process. But also there are times when I would like to sit down to a painting where I feel like I know what I'm doing. Or at least where I feel like the end result is going to look the same on the surface as it does in my head. Maybe that never happens. I don't know. Alright, so we are coming up on the very end of this video, which means the end of this painting. Thank you for watching so far. Hopefully you actually did and you didn't just leave the room with the video on. But that helps my metrics either way. So, you know, if that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do. I appreciate it. So while we're talking about metrics, in just a second you'll see a link to my channel. Please go ahead and subscribe, and you should see my previous video, which I think is a painting of my dog, Hank. Go check that out. It's a fun video. I'm going to enter that painting in the Trekkel artist pet portrait competition thing. I don't know. I haven't done that yet, but we're going to do that. So that's the video. Check it out. And while you're there, check out all the other videos. I think they're pretty cool, and I can say that because that's part of the marketing process, and you have to be a fan of your own work in order to get others to be a fan as well. So that's everything. Thanks for watching. Keep being awesome.